So one of the challenges that I spent over 20 years really fighting for water for the valley, and we continually ran into roadblocks with people who just didn't understand where their water even came from. And they just assume that if they just turn on their tap and water comes out that everything's okay, not knowing the history of California, that it really is a desert and it really would be uninhabitable if it wasn't for all these great water projects that have been built. So here in the valley, if you take from Merced to Bakersfield, there's essentially about 3 million acres of the best farm ground in the world. And we're looking at probably, if this problem doesn't get solved, we're looking at probably nearly 1/3 of that. Nearly 1 million acres of that land is going to have to come out of production. It's not just farmers and farm workers and people that work on farms. It's also just all the businesses that surround that. And it's also, food security. If we don't grow this food here in California, in the United States of America, you're going to have to import it from other countries. So the key is really using the existing water infrastructure that we have and moving it to the farms and the cities.
So water scarcity is something that is very real, not just in the Central Valley, but across the state of California and really around the world. Water has to be at the forefront of everyone's minds. We have to make sure that our policymakers manage water in a way that benefits people and communities. And that is all at risk at the moment because water is not being managed efficiently and adequately in the state of California. And so water, as I tell people, is life, it's food, it's everything.
Well, good morning. My name is Tom Barcelos. I'm the owner of Barcelos Farms and T-Bar Dairy. And what we do here out on the farm is we primarily grow alfalfa, wheat, corn to make feed for the cows so that we can produce a high quality milk, which ends up going to butter and powdered milk here at our plant in Tulare, the Land O'Lakes plant. I've been doing this for 46 years. A lot of history having to deal with water conservation. Interesting note, if there wasn't enough water in the valley here to operate a farm, Tulare County is the #1 dairy county in the United States. And if you take Fresno, Tulare County primarily, we produce 30% of the butter in the United States. If we couldn't operate our farms to feed the cows, to make the milk that processes into that, we would be looking at a critical food supply shortage. If we don't have water here to farm, there's no jobs. And if there's no jobs, those people in those communities have nothing to fall back on, and those communities would just dry up.
My name's Mike Faria. We farm in Tipton. We've always grown row crops for feeding our cows. We have dairies also. We have 4, soon to be 3, and we grow wheat, corn, alfalfa, all to feed our cows. And then here in 2014 we started planting almonds. So we have about pretty close to 100 employees when you put all the businesses together. We have a calf ranch also. We custom raise calves along with our own, and we obviously we farm. We do all of our own work on the farm, so we do it all, and we keep all of our guys busy. And we got a lot of good employees that have been with us for a long time. So as the water supply is reduced to farms and communities across this valley and the state, I guess, the impact is going to be tremendous. As I said earlier, for us personally, we have 4 dairies. They're all small, they're all old, and we are actually on a date this month. We're selling the cattle off that dairy, and we're trying to get set up. We're trying to make these decisions that are strategic so that we can sustain our operation going forward with the regulations, with the loss of water. Just a little impact, I'll tell you, just our little family operation. We have 13 guys that are going to be out of work, 13 jobs, And we're going to do our best because we're a family operation. We're going to do our best to take care of these guys. That's just a little example, and I've said it before, of what I see happening in this valley. And we're just a small little snapshot of it here, but you will be seeing this, valley-wide going forward.
The situation in California will probably exacerbate the global food crisis, where we'll see food shortages really around the world. And so we have to be very careful when we talk about just, valuing land as a solution to things, because if we don't produce our own food, much like all the oil that is imported into the U.S., we're going to face a crisis where the cost of food will go up, and where will we import it from? Who will be making our food, and how safe is it going to be? Because we have some of the strongest regulations in the state of California in terms of protecting our food, and if we significantly diminish that, it's a national security issue. We need to be able to produce our own food, just much like we need to produce our own energy and oil here in the state of California. And so I think that's something that it's not on the minds of a lot of people, but it should be, because we want to have food, and that could create a lot more tension internally, and we don't want that.
Hi, my name is Jason Phillips. I'm the CEO of the Friant Water Authority. My job is to deliver water through the Friant-Kern Canal to as far south as Bakersfield, and it starts right here in Fresno from Millerton Lake, and water is delivered throughout the San Joaquin Valley on its way to Bakersfield to over 1 million acres of productive farmland, but also provides water to many cities in the valley, including right here in Fresno, California, for the city of Fresno. This water for the people, for farms, and for the environment is all really important for the state of California to thrive. What's happened in the past several decades is there's been environmental groups from San Francisco that have been attacking our water supply. What this is doing is it's putting our farms out of business. It's using water that we need for our environment here and for our cities who are now running out of water. The motivation of these groups from San Francisco is to have more of our water sent to the Bay Area for their water quality and environment. And it's drying up our towns and our farms, and they are not being held accountable. Well, if you look at the last 40 years since they've been using regulations to take our water, the fish populations have been plummeting and the water quality has been getting worse. This year alone, in 2022, we are being required to release out of Millerton Lake enough water that's going to have to go to San Francisco that could have otherwise supported the city of Fresno for the next several years, its entire supply for the next several years. We need to hold these groups accountable, and we need to start using every drop of water most efficiently as possible.
Well, the sad facts are that the environmental groups, it sounds good, everybody wants to be pro-environment, but really these groups have become radicalized. And so the accountability really needs to come to the politicians, not only in Sacramento, but also in Washington, D.C., who have empowered what I really call environmental radicalism that has no basis in reality.
The politics of this state are not conducive to business at all, and really not to ag. So, and I know everybody that's making these rules and regulations that we got to live with, they're all eating, and that's what blows me away. They're all eating, and we're providing the food.